hereby called to order. We do have the presence of the quorum, so we're going to get started. Early is on time is late. Late is unacceptable, so we started right at 6:30 when we have the quorum. So we'll get started with act of reverence and pledge allegiance to the flag led by Commissioner Powell. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will now move to the acceptance of minutes. We have 3 sets of minutes, October 22nd, October 8th, and November 12th, moved by Commissioner Cruz. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you. We don't have any recognition. We don't have any speakers on agenda item. Most of them are off, but for the sake of time, so these folks won't have to sit through our meeting. If it's no objections, I'll move the speakers not addressing an agenda item up on the agenda. Hearing no objections, we'll start with John Bliss. John Bliss here. And after Mr. Bliss will be Dr. Coles, and then Dan Dermichis. And after Dan Dermichis is Anthony Plonzinski. His name was not reflected in our list. Okay? Mr. Bliss, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'm just giving you, I'm just going to read the cover letter of the proposal I'm giving you. Attached are the first 7 pages of a larger document. The remaining 150 or so pages are included on the flash drive that you have. I'm hoping there will be enough interest in this to warrant a more formal presentation. For 20 years, I have argued that city students can do as well as their suburban peers, despite the additional baggage they carry. If all the right pieces come together, I've seen this happen. I was part of it. Unfortunately, I've not seen a school or program that has sustained this culture over a long period of time. I wrote this proposal based on my 10 years of experience as a very successful Rochester City School District teacher and another 8 years as a charter school founder, CEO, and principal. Additionally, I've developed this program envisioning my own children attending it. I'm confident that students and parents and teachers will rally around it. I believe the community response would also be supportive and vocal. I do not claim to have all the answers, but I do know that hope is a prerequisite to learning, and to move people, we need to connect with their hearts first. This proposal does that. I'm hoping you can look at the pages I provided. I'm available to follow up. Again, that was for you. And if you guys are actually going ahead with the idea of college or teacher-led schools, what you have there, those 150 pages in the flash drive would be a terrific blueprint for anyone to look at to know what kind of work they got ahead of them. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Dr. Coles.
With school boards and superintendents supporting, with or without enthusiasm, a variety of policies like Common Core curriculum, heavy achievement testing, charter schools, and so forth, that research has already shown will go the way of No Child Left Behind, that has failed another generation of students. It's dismaying that there are policy initiatives that have very strong research bases to support them that have been completely ignored. One of them, which I'd like to talk about tonight and probably will address at your next meeting, because I don't think I get all the research, do all the research, discuss all the research tonight, is small classroom size. About 20 years ago, there was a very extensive study, a series of studies done in Tennessee, called Project STAR, that examined small classroom size. STAR stood for Student-Teacher Achievement Ratio, and it looked at small classrooms versus conventional sized classrooms. And what the research in Tennessee, and was throughout Tennessee, found was that in classes where the student ratio was approximately 13 to 17, compared to classrooms of 20 to 25, more conventional sized classrooms. One group with a teacher alone, or one group with a teacher and a teacher's aide. The small classrooms in the early grades, grades 1 through 3, produced dramatically better, significantly better results in reading and arithmetic, whether the group was a poor rural group, an urban group, a racial minority group. The achievement levels went up dramatically. A second step, which was called lasting benefits, looked at the long-term effect of small classroom size in the early grades in the later grades, grades 4 through 8. And what the research found, again, this is throughout Tennessee, this is not 1 or 2 classrooms, throughout Tennessee, is that whether measured by spelling, social studies, or science, or study skills, 4 tests that were consistently given throughout grades 4 through 8, the students who were in the small classrooms in the first grades 1 through 3 had dramatically better scores than the students who were in conventional sized classrooms. The third study, which was called, Project Challenge, very, very briefly, looked at the implementation of this small classroom size in poor districts. There were 168 districts. And again, they found dramatic differences. And if I can take just 30 seconds to just say something about why this occurred. When they looked at the 50 best teachers, that is the teachers whose students scored, teachers whose students showed the greatest upward shift in scores, what they found was that the teachers did not do anything extraordinary. What they did was monitor how the students were learning. If the students were not learning one way, they tried another way. It was basically what teachers did in a whole array of instances. The difference was that they had a small number of students and were able to implement what is very difficult to implement with a larger classroom. Again, this I have the section from a book that I wrote in 1998 that discusses this. I have it for you. I'm passing out the section for you to read at your leisure.
If you can give that to the clerk, that'd be great, Dr. Coles. Thank you very much. Dan Dermisish. After Dan, Anthony Plonzinski.
Excuse me. Hello. I'm here to talk about the superintendent's initiative that he described the other day. And I'd like to say that I think the most positive thing about the superintendent's initiative in terms of associating with colleges is the fact that if we did have schools of education working with schools in the city, that they'd have access to the latest research in terms of what works and what doesn't work. The only problem with that assumption is that they'd be able to use the research. Right now, in terms of things like Common Core, APPR, and high-stakes standardized testing, everything that the research says is contradictory to those policies. So unless there's negotiated agreement somehow with the state education department, with the feds, I don't predict that there could be much change simply by having new administrative body running the schools without that kind of flexibility, especially with curriculum as well, in terms of meeting the interests of poor African-American, Hispanic kids. You've got to change those things, and if they aren't there, it probably isn't going to work. The second thing that I think needs to happen if that plan were to be instituted is that organization development research states that in order to have maximum positive impact, the key practitioners, the teachers, the administrators, curriculum experts, even students and parents would have to play a role in the problem solving and decision making about key educational issues involving curriculum assessments, expectations, and resources, if you want to have ownership for that kind of plan and feel that teachers and administrators are vested in the outcome. The other thing in terms of research is that top-down curriculum like the Regents, Common Core, and their accompanying assessments do not intrinsically motivate kids who suffer from the effects of concentrated poverty to meaningfully engage in classroom learning. We've got to have the flexibility to focus on issues that are currently harming these kids, such as violence, family relationships, the lack of love, lead poisoning, prenatal care. Those types of issues could be the kinds of issues that kids are studying and actually developing proposals that they could bring to the Board of Education or to the City Council. Teachers and administrators obviously would need some type of improved professional development and curriculum and pedagogical development that actively engages and motivates kids. If we don't have that, I don't see things changing that much. But again, I think colleges could present that. Small class sizes, as my colleague Jerry Coles just said, of 12 to 1 would be essential, but it costs money. So unless there's funding for these colleges to make these types of changes, again, I question the outcomes. The last thing would be the effect of concentrated poverty, and unless there's money to deal with the effects of concentrated poverty, specifically with the issues of providing universal prenatal care and training, visiting nursing from birth to 3 years old, focusing on parenting skills, nutrition, intellectual development, career and job training for parents, universal pre-K school, and even this board considering a requirement that every kid who graduates from the city schools has to demonstrate that they know how to be a good parent, could be the kinds of things that could make a significant difference. The last thing, if I could take 30 seconds to do this, is this quote: "Genuine school reform must be built on hope, not fear, on encouragement, not threats, on inspiration, not compulsion, on trust, not carrots and sticks, on belief in the dignity of the human person, not a slavish devotion to data, on support and mutual respect, not a regime of punishment and blame. To be lasting, school reform must rely on collaboration and teamwork among students, parents, teachers, principals, administrators, and local communities." That's by Diane Ravitch from her book, Reign of Error. The last thing I wanted to say is that the Coalition for Justice and Education is working with writers and books right now to have Reign of Error be a community read. And so there'll be an ongoing process of community involvement in terms of problem solving the issues of community education. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Anthony Plonzinski. And you have 3 minutes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I come to you today as the chair of the Latino Education Task Force, and I'm sharing with you a folder of information. The critical part in the folder is a list of the 2010 recommendations that the task force released within our report on Latino education and advocacy within the Rochester City School District, performed by Ibero-American Action League, as well as the Warner School of Education at the University of Rochester. I come before you today in a collaborative sense to reintroduce to you the issues that were released in that call to action in 2010 regarding the case of Latino education and the education of our students across the district. On Tuesday, with the gracious hosting, Dr. Vargas allowed us to use the Rochester City School District arena. We released an initiative called La Cumbre, the Summit, that is a greater push for Latino advocacy across all different topics. Specifically, education is one of those, and I'll be leading the education committee of that, and the task force will have a large role. We wanted to introduce to you that initiative, but specifically talk to you about, again, the reintroduction of the 2010 call to action, the recommendations that we had in the study, as we want to revisit those and really look to see if we're addressing the recommendations that were put there. It was a collaborative effort between, again, the Warner School, Ibero, and the Rochester City School District at the time. So really just today, what we're hoping for is to start a new conversation on this effort to look at tangible results, asking the board as well as the Rochester City School District to be a part of that effort. This is the beginning of many hopeful dialogues and engagements with this. I wanted to make sure that it was introduced again and highlighted on a public sense. At the December board meeting, it's our plan to come before you with specific recommendations that we have in regards to student engagement in general in the Rochester City School District, but an underlining tone of what we can do for our Latino students in the district. And we hope that between now and that meeting, our calls to meet and our calls to have dialogue will be answered and welcomed, and we can really start a robust conversation at tangible, real solutions that address the cultural and curricular needs of our students across the district. So thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you, Anthony. Mary Courtney here. After Mary Courtney will be Pat Mannix. Is Pat Mannix here? Yes. Mary?
Hi, good evening. My name is Mary Courtney. I'm a teacher at Rochester Early College International High School, and I'm here tonight to make the Board of Education aware of some serious safety issues in the neighborhood around our school and to request help addressing the safety of our scholars and staff. I've worked at our school since our opening day in September of 2010, and for the first 3 years I felt relatively safe both inside and outside the school. That's changed this year. The neighborhood environment has become dramatically more dangerous. I'd like to highlight a few of the incidents that have occurred close to the school grounds since this summer. Our basketball coach and athletes had to take cover behind a car to avoid stray gunfire from a drive-by shooting at 9 a.m. on a Saturday when they were locked out of the school. 3 days before school opened, a man was murdered on a Sunday afternoon directly across the street from the school. We were in lockdown on October 1st for gunfire on Genesee Street during the school day. On October 31st, staff were instructed to remain inside, away from windows and doors, and not to leave the building at 3:30 in the afternoon for gunfire on Frost Ave. When a colleague left work one afternoon, she could not exit the parking lot as it was blocked by police K-9 units investigating a knife-point robbery near the bleachers and track area. An open-air drug market operates freely on the corner of Genesee Street and Frost Avenue. Yep. There's multiple dealers lined up heading west on Frost Avenue, starting at the corner every afternoon when I leave. Staff members have had their cars surrounded by dealers waving baggies of drugs at them while they're trying to drive home. Students have been jumped and robbed of their cell phones while waiting for the bus out in front of the school in the afternoons. 2 weeks ago today, as I was leaving the school a little before 4 p.m., a gang of about 15 young adult men swarmed across Genesee Street in front of me while I was stopped at the light, viciously attacking several people on the sidewalk and in the doorways of the stores directly across the street while our students were waiting at the bus stop and watching this. I called 911 and I watched while they continued to beat the people, and then they beat another individual as they disappeared and dispersed down Samuel McCrae Way before the police arrived. Our administration requested increased security the day following this incident. Our staff signed a petition formally requesting increased security and presented it to our administration the following week, just after Veterans Day. This resulted in a response saying we would see increased road patrols. This was last Thursday. I didn't witness any officers in the mornings or the afternoons on Thursday or Friday or Monday morning. At 1:30 p.m. on Monday afternoon this week, one of our students was viciously beaten by 3 young men in front of our school while waiting for his bus, while another female scholar next to him screamed for help, and no bystanders would intervene. Since this attack, additional communication through the union was made to the district, and we finally received increased security through the district, both in the mornings and the afternoons. The email that we received indicated that this would continue through Thanksgiving next week. 6.5 years ago, I lost my niece in the worst act of school violence in U.S. history. She was one of the 32 people murdered at Virginia Tech. She planned to be a teacher, and so I honor her memory in my classroom. At the beginning of every school year, I tell my students about her, and I promise them that if we're ever faced with that situation in our school, I will do everything in my power to keep them safe. Well, the danger is not inside our school, but it's directly outside our building door. So that's the reason I'm here tonight. I'm asking for your help in getting us some ongoing protection on our school grounds and in the immediate vicinity all day not just at arrival and dismissal at 2 o'clock. We need protection for our scholars who leave early to go to their college classes at MCC, and we need protection for our athletes who are leaving school as late as 7 p.m. after their practices. We need help to keep our students safe until the city can get the violence in this neighborhood under control. We owe it to our students and their parents to keep their children safe on our school grounds. If we can't get them into and out of the building safely, it does not matter how good of a teacher I am. Our students are living in a war zone every day, and we can't pretend that it doesn't affect their learning. I don't think this is a problem that can be solved by simply providing a little extra district security for a couple of hours for a day for the next 2 weeks. We need help from the city, from the Rochester Police Department, perhaps from community members to tackle this problem and take back the neighborhood. And so I want to know, we want to know, what can you do as a Board of Education to help us get our kids the protection they deserve? Thank you.
And Ms. Courtney, can you either give the clerk a copy of your comments or either email them?
Yes.
I want as soon as you can.
Yes.
That'd be great. Thank you. Patricia Mannix.
Good evening. I'm speaking here tonight as a city resident, a member of the Coalition for Justice and Education, and a member of the Facing Race, Embracing Equity Educational Task Force. I'm here tonight to address the ever-increasing focus on testing. This is presented to parents as a way to measure and then improve education, but I don't see it that way. I think this is no more than a scam to improve the bottom line for greedy corporate entities who care little about the growth of our children and only the growth of their bank accounts. So how has our school district entered into this? I see it somewhat as desperation. Ever-increasing needs in large segments of our children has produced an ever-increasing need to seek more funding. I understand that. But lured by the money incentive held out by federal and state governments, the district, I believe, convinces itself that if in possession of these extra funds, they can improve conditions and raise results. I think you are failing to see that while we're concentrating on the head of the child, cramming in more and more test-taking knowledge, the feet of the child, deprived of blood flow, are rotting and falling off, leaving the child unable to stand at all. I lay on all of you that this cycle of endless testing is not only killing the very education we say we want for our kids, it is in itself child abuse. And why would the Rochester City School District want to engage in child abuse practices? Social workers, many reports in New York State report increased self-mutilating behavior, insomnia, panic attacks, loss of appetite, depressed mood, and even suicidal thoughts in adolescence. Kids tell them that the pressure is just too great. Hours and hours of homework leave them no time out. One could argue that adolescent years are always stressful, regardless, and that other things probably contribute to this. So let's go even younger. Let's go at reports coming out of the first grade. Teachers and parents are reporting how anxiety at being unable to answer questions that are very confusing on a first grade math test are producing an overwhelming feeling of failure in some students. They see themselves as stupid and school as a hated place they do not want to go to. Parents report children throwing up, crying, begging to stay home, and withdrawing from any talk about school. And this is in the first grade. Are these not all signs of child abuse? How do we instill an attitude of the love of learning in a child experiencing this in the first grade? And how can we question the growing trend of falling behind, truancy, underperforming, and finally dropping out if this is the foundation on which we are trying to build an education? It's sand, folks. It's sand. Commissioner Evans, Commissioner Adams, and Commissioner Campos, I know you have small children. I know this anxiety is not something you would tolerate for your children. So how in good conscience can you allow it to be the norm for other children in our district? If I were to come to you and tell you good money was just waiting to be had for the school district by simply pimping out the best-looking high school students that we have, you would look on me as a crazy fool. Well, I charge tonight that we are doing exactly that. We are pimping out our students to gain funds and calling it a win for our district and our educational process. I beg you, please put an end to
Thank you.
this.
Thank you, Ms. Mannix. Thank you. Thank you for all the speakers tonight. In particular, Ms. Courtney, I want to thank you for bringing the issues that are happening around the Wilson area. It is a challenge, and I will tell you today that I will that I know, and I know the superintendent will also follow up, but I will be following up with the mayor-elect, and also the current police chief about this issue as soon as possible. That's why I asked for a copy of your statements. This is a very serious issue that needs to be resolved, and as someone who attends church in that area, I'm familiar with the levels of violence because of what happened last month, a couple of Sundays ago, when somebody was shot right around churches were getting out in that neighborhood. So we have serious issues that we need to address, take care of, and you can let the folks know at Wilson. And I want you to know tonight that this board hears it, and that we're going to take as much action as we can from the district side, but we also recognize that we can't do it without our city partners, and I'm sure that they will do everything on their end to also try to help this situation. So thank you for bringing that tonight. Thank you. Mr. Superintendent, we'll move on to your report.
I would kindly ask that you join me for a brief presentation update on attendance.
Is this presentation going to be on this screen or no? Oh, or is it on this screen? It's going to be
on this screen.
Much better on the big screen. Okay, we'll come down. All right, thanks.
Topic, but I believe that what you see in the street of Rochester directly connected to this topic, and that is attendance. It's probably the number one predictor of what's going to happen to our students, not just in our school, but when they leave us, if they drop out. As you know, the consequences are enormous. That's why we are taking attendance to be our number one priority. Today, every month, we invite the community to help us. We go and look for students that haven't showed up or have a serious attendance problem. I want to thank the United Way, the County of Monroe, the city, and all the citizens and people from central office who went today and contacted number of families and the students that the children are having difficulty coming to school. And we do know that when a first grader or second grader is not coming to school, those are issues or adult issues, and there are issues that are getting in the way. It could be family challenging, it could be various challenges. We do realize that. So when we go door to door and talk with families to assess their need, and we are very fortunate with the county and social service organization and others who have signed out to be partners in terms that we can make at least a referral and people begin to work with the family. So let me show you, this is the trends in terms of attendance. As you know, prior to 2012, we didn't have the most accurate attendance record, so we did change that. We see a little bit of progress, but not enough in terms of the progress that we need to make to get our students to graduate and be successful. So, as you can see, high school has the worst attendance, and this is us today. By the way, this is live data. This is data that we all could do something. A voter education member or a family or a citizen of this community could take one family under their wing to help them address their challenges. So this data is actionable. This is not after the fact. So we have 186 students that haven't shown up. We are looking for them. It's a little bit of progress because we started at one point around 800 around this year. Now we are tracking them. David, Jerome Underwood, and Betsy, and her team, and other need to be commended given their work that they are doing on this. Jerome, for example, is going every Sunday to churches to spread the message that we need help, as well as our partner. They are sending messages to their client. Peter Carpino, for example, have engaged the social service organization in an ongoing basis. And this is not to blame family, okay? It's a number one challenge that we are facing to turn this district around, and also for the vitality for our community. This is last year. Over 7,000 students missed 20 days or more. You're about to see what that means in terms of graduation rate in a few minutes. 1,429 missed more than 20 days. Again, we have over 8,000 plus students, almost a quarter of our student population, having significant attendance problems. So, year today, again, it gives you an idea grade by grade where we are. Next. So this are of school that we are targeting. School 22, 57, school 8, 43, 36, 54, and 17 and 4. The good news is that as you can see, school 4, which we had last year in our list, and this is our new school, because last year we had an older school, have made the most progress. And that's where we want all our schools to be. The principal every week are meeting and discussing this. We don't just look at test score of actual attendance, we tell you all. You could begin and end there. And as you can see, at school 22, we have a serious problem with our K population. Chronic means 10 days or more. Severe is 20 or more. And we're addressing our challenges, but this is a difficult problem, as you can see. The problem is daunting. Today we have over 40 people here that went into the street, and I told them that my hope is that next time we get 500 to go out there, because we need all the help that we can get on this. Keep going, please. As you can see, this month by month, making a little bit of progress, but not sufficient for us to celebrate. So, as you can see in here, by 2012, 2013, see a comparison in there. We're making a little bit of progress, but not enough to celebrate. So, our target school, the kindergarten, we have 160 students, 29% that are chronic. All the elementary schools, 22. So even our non-targeted school have a serious problem, as you can see. And then you can see there by school grade 1 through 3. Again, our target school, much higher attendance, much lower attendance rate than the non-target, but it's still 348 students. That's significant for 8 different schools. That's bigger than the school where Commissioner Allen's daughter goes. This is revealing. Today I had a conversation with first grade, and I believe Vice President White that we need help. And I know you go into the radio. And I had a conversation every Friday, I believe, right? Today I had a conversation that was very revealing with a family who is a first grader who have missed more than 20 days. And I didn't know what to say in terms of to encourage the mom that there's a sense of urgency here. And I began to say the challenge is that if we don't get your kid to come to school, he or she will not be able to make it through school to graduate. We could predict the number of students that are going to graduate today by looking at attendance data at the elementary. And we can predict even a greater rate at the high school level. So you have heard me before that I don't want to make a prediction that our graduation rate is going to go up in a significant way until we change this indicator. So Johns Hopkins University, I come up with predictability metric. And as you can see, when students miss 20 days or more in high school, 20 days, I'm sorry, the likelihood of graduation is about 65%. So if we had and thank you for moving, when it's 65, and then you can see the score in math and reading, even when they graduate, they won't be prepared as well as they need to. So it's not only graduation that would be lost, but also the preparation as well. So here is the reality for most of our schools today. You could predict for the majority of our school that if we don't change attendance, your graduation rate will stay around 49%, which, interesting enough, is almost exactly what we got today. Again, we will continue to work with the community to make this available. There will be a campaign beginning this winter, I hope, in which we begin to use this information to educate our families and work with the community to know that we need help. Now, you heard one speaker tonight. It is very likely, President Evans, that those individuals that are in the street is because they lack opportunity. Like, if you drop out, very unlikely to find a good job. The contact with the criminal justice system is higher. So there are implications for our student lives and our community. Once again, 49%. Now, when I look at East High School today, the cohort class that is started 2 months ago, I could predict that the graduation rate would be even lower than this. Would be around what the graduation rate for East is today, 39%. Why? Because 30% of the 9th grade, 30% is not showing up to school on a given day. So I will begin to tell this board in this community that we are going to increase the graduation rate when we increase attendance. Now, there are factors inside the school and outside the school that contribute to this. And we are going to begin to address those and do our best. It's a difficult us as a community confront it. And interesting enough, this school that have confronted this all over the country, they have improved the graduation rate, they have improved their standard in the community, and so on and so forth, because if you are dealing with attendance in an appropriate way, you are addressing multiple issues. Because attendance is just like going to the doctor, right? They check your blood pressure. It tells you something, but blood pressure is just an indicator of something that it might be going wrong with you. And I know Commissioner Adams is a nurse here. I shouldn't use medical terminology, but the bottom line is that the attendance for a kid, for me, at least it tells me that there are some issues behind, and that we need to go into a deep dive and address some of those issues. And I want to thank again the community, because at least today we had 40 people that went into the street. The United Way, Peter Carpino was here, the mayor was here, representative from the county, the police department, and others were here, members of the administration and central office, and at the school level were here. So we are beginning to make a little bit of progress, but we are not there yet. And in the very near future, you will see some action around our high school, because while we are paying attention to elementary, we can't ignore the high school. And we haven't ignored it, but we got to see what is that we can do with a sense of urgency to get the community engaged, to help us to get the message. And again, we need to put this in context. The mama was shocked that I was talking about her son dropping out of high school when he is in first grade. I do know, because I could tell in my conversation, that she was perplexed. And I had to unpack it in the best possible, simple or not simplistic way for explaining this phenomenon. So thank you for listening, and if you have any question, like this, if you don't, we can go back and take on. Yeah, thank you. Actually, I think I have a... yeah, why don't you go live for Menanza representing Evan? Just give me a second. So, you guys could just do 19 days. 66%. Just do 40 days. Oh, it's only about to 30. So, you can see, again, there's a lot of research behind this that we can make it available to you. We want it to be used evidence. I think Commissioner Cruz told me we need to show our own data if our students don't show up at this many days. So we will get to that at some point, that we might have to send letter home customized to the individual families with this information. Now, it's a daunting task, but I can tell you that the staff at central office at the school level are working very hard on this. And I do know Patty and Ed and Bill, Chuck, and all of many of you in the audience were in the street today, and we are gaining insight information that is very helpful to us. It's not just going to the home, but you come back with a new perspective and the challenges that we are facing. So thank you again. So if we have if our daily attendance go to 95%, our graduation rate will go to 80 plus.
Questions for the superintendent, Commissioner Powell?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I know that you're focusing on the kindergarten, first grade attendance now, and I applaud you for recognizing that parent behaviors have to change in order to get those kids to school. Couldn't help but notice the 9th grade spike, and I wonder, is that different this year than in past years, or is 9th grade a make or break year for students systematically from one cohort to the next? Because that's pretty
Yep.
tragic.
Yep.
It does occur to me to wonder if the Common Core is so off-putting that it's made it worse than the attendance might have been otherwise. And I've made no secret that I've been dealing with my own attendance issues within my own family, and discovered just how difficult it is with teenagers to change behaviors. And for adults in the high schools to offer up alternatives, even to the most engaged parent. We found that the Interim Health Academy was the answer for us, and there's plenty of room right now, according to what we budgeted. So I wonder if we couldn't kind of spread the word amongst our leaders, our principals, that when we're facing students with school avoidance behaviors, that it might make sense to bring that option to the attention of the parents sooner rather than later.
Absolutely, that's need to be part of our approach, and also timely. That's the reason I share this information, because it's something this board and the administration could do, and family and community could do. So that's a very, next month we are going to begin to, hopefully I can give you an update what action we are taking as a result of this. I know Brenda is here and she supervised the high school. It is my hope that every time you go to one of our building, we ask the question about attendance and what engagement I would, there's no better resources to use if you want to improve student achievement that concentrate on attendance. So even if we had to shift resources, because hear me, shift, and not say adding more, because eventually where we're going to add it if your revenue remain constant. So we might have to take a look at that. But let me respond to your 9th grade. The reason you couldn't draw that conclusion, I couldn't draw that conclusion today, is because we had a situation where we had a lot of students that never entered 9th grade because of the practice that we parked them in 8th grade. And many of them did drop out in 8th grade. But, and I don't want to get into that practice. It's a thing of the past. Needless to say that we ended that practice. We're not going to have students, and they might be some still because of the practice, but we're working on this to make sure that you don't have overage, significant overage, 16 years old or 17 years old in 8th grade. We did move Brenda and other work this summer to give them some support, because it's not about promotion or retention, but what kind of academic, social, emotional, and physical support you give the students. And we did the best we could during the summer to get those group of students that were so far behind in 8th grade. We moved them to 9, and we are experiencing, of course, many of them are having difficulty. Why? Because the reading level, the challenges level, and again, this is an issue that we cannot be reactive. We have to be proactive from pre-K all the way until, we shouldn't wait until 9th grade or 8th grade until the student are repeating, and then say, what do you do when a kid is 16 or 17 and is reading at a 3rd grade level? What are you going to do with that kid? And obviously, you see a lot of frustration and a lot of students being discouraged. So I couldn't draw that conclusion because of the change in practice.
Could I ask a follow-up on that?
Yeah.
Is the data for 7th and 8th grade better than last year?
It is a little bit, but not significant better.
Because, I mean, I guess my hope is that whatever's being, not whatever's being done, but the, you know, the interventions and attention that is being paid to improvement in 7th and 8th grade, if that is showing effectiveness in terms of engaging those 7th and 8th graders so that we don't have that continued problem from 8th promoting into 9th, that would be key.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And the challenge is, as I mentioned to you, we know we're in the right track, because the best thing is early on, because you're constantly catching up, right? You could make great progress with a kid in 7th grade who is reading the 3rd grade level, and you can get them to 5th. And by the time they're in 8th grade to 6th grade level, you're still behind with our kid. And so that's why we believe that our 3rd grade reading and early on prevention will help us resolve this problem, but it cannot be resolved in the short term. This is a long-term solution, but we are struggling to come up with short-term solution as well.
Commissioner Elliott.
I may not be asking these questions exactly correct, and you may have answered some, but if you would just indulge me. So I'm concerned about that 9th grade as well, and tend to believe that if we're going to increase our graduation rates, that we need to work on focusing in on attendance for the early years, but we've got an issue with our 9th graders. If we've got, and if I read, since I don't have the document, I think it said 80.4% of attendance, and 604 of our 9th graders are out of school. But I think that, Mr. Superintendent, we have to look at the long term with our early years, but we also have to look at the short term, and this situation is a sense of urgency that if we have our 9th grade population that are not attending school, the question I have is, do we have any data, and particularly with this year-to-date data, around what are the reasons that they're not in school? It would seem to me that in addition to your initiative for for the elementary grades, that we will look at that 9th grade area as well, and to focus some intervention activities on that to ensure that they're going to graduate. And so if we can put those intervention activities around our 9th graders, I have no question that the graduation rates will increase. So my question is, are there intervention activities for the 9th graders in terms of attendance, in terms of determining why our 9th graders are, or 8th graders are dropping out and not going into 9th grade? I'd like to get more information around that whole cohort of 9th graders, so that we can provide whatever support services that that they need. And you know, this may speak to, again, to my support of the middle school model, a 7th through 9th grade model, or 6th through 8th grade model, to ensure that our students get the kinds of supports that they need so that they can transition effectively and efficiently into the upper grades. So can you respond to what are the intervention are we going to have for our 9th graders?
We have all kinds of current intervention, but again, this required a thorough understanding of the problem. Once again, it's not even grade level by grade level, but we need to intervene at all grade level. That's number one. But in the first 9th grade, they require special attention. But one of the challenges that I suspect is going on in here is the number of students that we move from 8th grade to 9th grade. And also we had to look at school by school. And we are going to go more in into getting an understanding of this current group, right? And hopefully, in next month in our meeting, we will come up with ways in which we are going to address this at the school level, school by school, because, for example, the school of the art, that's not our issue. But we have some school that I experienced significant problem that I contributed to this problem. Like, for example, when you have a particular school with 70% or less of the ninth grade, and by the way, that have been consistent. This is not new data.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask too.
What is new in here that we are discussing today, 4 years before this kid are about to graduate. And I think that is an important question. We are going to now go on school by school and see what are they doing, because there have been some new targeting, and when come, for example, the Monroe High School had one of the worst attendance rate. We have some new approach there. The expanded learning, we got colleges and universities and all, they're helping us. We got to see if those intervention and helping us, and see if we can extend it to another school. I do know that as long as you continue to have a school like East, with our art, music, sport, or extracurricular activity, or a learning environment that is challenging for students, you will continue to see this problem. So this had to be a comprehensive approach. It can't just be about fixing the child, but we also have to fix the school. And I know that I believe in the approach of fixing the child, but I believe in addressing the need of the child.
So do we have, in your attendance initiative, have you focused in on our ninth grade students? And has there been, if so, has there been data that we collected that can inform us as to why they're not in school? And then my second question, last question is, do we have this kind of data for ninth grade for the last 3 years or last 5 years?
We haven't, but as I mentioned to you and continue to repeat it, that the data. May I finish? I said that we have it, but as I have mentioned to you repeatedly, that the data has some glitch in it, and I don't want to go to the past. I want to go to this data that is action. Why is the data from the past not accurate? Because we had an attendance problem in terms of record keeping, which basically we had a practice in place that if a teacher didn't take attendance, that particular group of students that particular day would default to presence. And that's a practice that we ended. Therefore, we don't have the most accurate data for the past 3 years. So we now have to rely in what we have today.
So what, we only have year-to-date data?
We have data from the past, but it's not as reliable as the data that we had today.
Meaning year-to-date, right?
Yes,
That's what you're saying?
yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
I just have a quick question.
Commissioner Campos.
This is, the information is based on grade and not cohort, is that correct? The information that you gave with the ninth grade that was?
Yeah, that is correct.
I may have used the wrong word.
Yeah, okay, so I would be interested to see what it would look like with the cohorts, right? Because you have, and not that we shouldn't address these students, but you have the over-aged and under-accredited kids that are considered in there where we're measured by cohort, or the state measures by cohort. And then my other question would be, how many of those kids have been socially promoted versus based on the mastery of the, academics? So at that point, they're being promoted socially based on their age. They feel like they're not grasping what they're supposed to be because they're not ready for that next grade. So I would really love to see what the cohort, what the attendance numbers are for the cohort.
Yeah, we could break it down.
Yeah, that would be great. But I think it's a wonderful thing that we're persisting on.
Thank you. Commissioner Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Having been on the truancy blitzes, I know that you collect data from each one of the teams that go out, right, on what they found and what they're hearing and what they see. I'm wondering if you can give us obviously not now, but if you can compile for us some sense of what you're getting back from the teams in terms of what they're finding. Because I think one of the things that disturbs me is that with the amount of resources we have, and we still don't have a clear indication of generally what the problem is in terms of why these children are not coming to school. And we continually speculate and speculate about why. And as long as we continue to speculate, it's really hard to put together and address the problem specifically and directly, right?
Correct.
So I think we really need a sense of what is it that these folks are telling us. What are those issues that they're having to deal with, so that we can begin crafting some kind of strategy that really speaks to those specific issues, as opposed to trying and create some general sense of how to address it, and without having a sense of what specifically is going on. But I think you've done enough truancy blitzes now over the last couple of years that I'm sure you must be getting some kind of data that you can put into an aggregate form for us. Yeah. It's not absolutely scientific, and I understand that, but at least might give us some clues.
No, that's excellent, and we do have that data, and we make it part of the next report. We'll send it in writing, but I think publicly we need to discuss this. The county also is collecting that data in the United Way. We have dealt with the issue that you raised, so because we are passing those concerns that family are bringing to us, like, for example, medical reason. It could be mobility, that a family moved, and this week the child missed 2 days because transportation wasn't able to be scheduled on time. And so we do have a range of issue, and what is good is that it's not knowing the issues are important. That's your first step, but then how you're going to address it. And that's why we need outside partner as well. So, and that is an excellent observation, and we have it for the early grade, but we need to continue to collect that data, particularly for ninth grader. Now, ninth grader, we do have tons of data from research and from what we hear from our schools, like lack of preparation, lack of motivation, teen pregnancy, and mental health issue. So there's a range of issues that, but I could tell you that the best practice is to continue to concentrate early on if we want to stop this problem, at the high school level. At the high school level, it becomes a very difficult issue to address. But however, we can overlook it.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. We're going to move to board reports. Standing committee reports. Student rep, do you have a report?
Yes. So before I talk about what Student Leadership Congress did yesterday, a few weeks ago with the communications department, which included Todd, Tom, and Sam, we did a student college forum, which we recorded, and basically talked about the who, what, when, where, whys, and hows of applying to colleges and picking colleges. It's being aired on Students First, and it's to give high school seniors kind of advice on how to apply to colleges and kind of get their college search going. We also went to Tyshawn Williams' vigil. I saw both Dr. Vargas and Miss Elliott there. And then at our meeting yesterday, we kind of had a conversation about violence and Tyshawn Williams and cases like that. And also at his vigil, we saw Miss Lovely Warren, and she mentioned that we should create some sort of student-based forum with all the city students and other communities in the area to kind of talk about the violence and raise awareness within students and kind of get students more knowledgeable. Student Leadership Congress also yesterday talked about our fundraiser that we're planning for our trip to Washington, which is going to be in May. The fundraiser is April 30th. We also last night attended the Thanksgiving dinner at RIA. We saw Mr. Partner and Ms. Malgieri there. And last, on December 4th, we are going to be attending the County Executive's Senior Ball, which is a ball with both senior citizens and seniors in high school. And we're getting community service hours and also kind of getting to meet community members that we don't normally get to talk to. So it should be good. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Powell and the Finance Committee.
Yes, thank you. Finance Committee met last Thursday, November 14th. It was a light agenda with only two resolutions that are in our packet today. Resolutions 330 and 331, both facilities resolutions. However, we did discuss our October financial report, and at this time, I move that the full board receive these reports as recommended by the committee.
It's a motion to approve financial reports. May I have a second? Seconded by Commissioner White. All those in favor of receiving the monthly financial reports? Aye. Ayes. Ayes have it. Thank you.
Next, we considered the first quarter student activity funds report. The committee recommended approval, and at this time I move that the full board receive those reports as recommended by the Finance Committee.
Motion to receive those reports. All those in favor, please say aye.
We need a second.
Second. Second. It's been seconded and moved. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you, Commissioner Powell.
Third, we have the quarterly change order report. This is being part of our facilities process. At this time, at the recommendation of the committee, I move that the board accept the quarterly change order report and the revised figures therein.
Motion to approve the monthly, quarterly change order report. May I have a second? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you, Commissioner Powell.
Thank you. As I said, the two resolutions, 330 and 331, are both educational facilities. Committee is still considering the Rochester Teen Court issue where it was referred to the Finance Committee last month, and we're continuing to discuss what options are available to us. Some additional funds might be available through the School Violence Prevention Grant, but another proposal is currently being developed for the use of those funds. The proposal is due to be completed in the next few weeks, so it'll be the topic of our December Finance Committee meeting as well. Our next committee meeting will be Thursday, December 12th at 5:30 p.m., and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. Commissioner Elliott and the CIGR Committee.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to make a point of personal privilege, if I may, just to let you know some of the activities that I've been involved in for the month. I've visited School Without Walls. I think that's my first school that I visited for the year. I've also attended the public safety program that we have between the city and the district over at the Rochester REOC, and more meetings around food service. I think we went to, I don't know if I reported this month or last month, the School 17 visit that we attended. And so we're still looking at improving that even more with hopefully equipment for our central kitchen that we should be able to get free, that's going to enhance the efficiencies in our food service. So we're looking forward to that. I think the chief finance person is doing a financial analysis around that to see if it's cost effective for us to have those machines in terms of the products that the machines will be able to prepare for our students. And so that information will be coming sometime in the near future. I just want to point out, we've been attending, having meetings around student discipline and suspensions. And I just want to point out that we take a look, that we really look at what our policies are, because we may, in fact, have the right policies. What may be the case is that it's in the implementation. So I think we have to look at that. Have what the policies that we've developed, have they been implemented with fidelity? And I think that's something that we're going to have to look at, the fidelity of those policies being implemented. And then as the student rep mentioned, I attended the vigil along with the superintendent for Tyshawn Williams, but also attended his funeral. And it occurred to me, and I've talked with the principal over at School 3, that we may want to consider, and I've talked to some of my colleagues here, and I believe I sent an email, that we may want to consider a renaming of School 3, and then as that information was communicated within the building, they suggested maybe, if you were, some of you may recall, Raleigh Hinton was also murdered on his way going to Bible school back in 1993, I believe, and he was a School 3 student, and that we may want to consider, or a Hinton Williams School number 3, something to that effect. But I just wanted to present it this evening. I know it's gonna, it's a lot of work in order to get that done. I don't have any of the answers, but I thought that, here's someone that did everything right, as Raleigh Hinton did. They did everything right and was murdered. And so in some way, we've never had a school named after one of our students, and what better honor that we do something like this if the board approves this. So I will be talking more to our community people, particularly Tyshawn Williams, his church family, and to see if this is something that his family would like to do, and to get more information around it. So that will be forthcoming, and I'll keep my colleagues informed about that whole process. I also have been meeting with different employees and businesses under the FMP process. And I've been hearing a lot of racial things that have been going on that the primes have been doing. And let me just say, and I'll talk about a little bit about the legislative breakfast, but the Assemblyman has said, Assemblyman David Gant, if we don't get this right in terms of ensuring that, and this is more for the FMP board, but if we don't get this right about ensuring that African Americans, particularly businesses, are part of this process, fact is that money may not come from Albany. And so there seems to be some resistance to the primes. They've used some very vulgar language, some of them, but it's because we're putting the pressure on them to ensure that people of color are part of this process. And let me just serve notice, we're not going away, because part of the issue that we're having with the crime in our community is that a number of our citizens in the community don't have jobs and don't have employment. And so we're going to continue to fight this, because the only way that you reduce crime is that you make sure that people have opportunities and employment opportunities. And so we're going to be continuing to fight this and push this. It's $1.2 billion over 15 years. Everybody should share. And we're only talking about 20%. And it seems to me that if you can't share 20%, then it's about greed. And so we can't continue to have just a certain group of people to be a part of this process, and not everybody to be a part of this process. So if the primes want to fight, we're ready to fight. And I'm just putting that out there, because we need to have people of color to be able to participate in this process. And then, and I think that, a lot of the issues that we may be even having over at Wilson, again, it connects. If you don't have jobs, don't have a purpose, then you're going to get into this negative behavior. And then just lastly, and I'm getting ready to get on my soapbox, it kind of disturbs me when we have somebody to come to speak before us who now all of a sudden has all this expertise around education, and when he was in the district, failed our children in the district. So I have a real problem, my colleagues, that we put any confidence in someone who wants to tell us about what to do, when in fact, when he had an opportunity to do it, failed our children. And so I just want to put that out there. That's just my own personal soapbox. And so now I'll get to my report. The Community and Intergovernmental Relations Committee held its legislative breakfast on Saturday, November 9th. It was attended by the federal, state, city, and county representatives. There was probably about 25 people in attendance. We reviewed the legislative agenda with our colleagues, and I'm really, the Assemblyman Gant was there and talked to us about perhaps, and President Evans and Vice President White, you were there, talked to us around getting our legislative agenda out early, before the budget process starts, so that we can come to Albany or, talk to our representatives before the budget process. And so the committee has to look at, based on what the Assemblyman recommended to us, about, how do we change our agenda such that it complies in line with the whole New York State budgeting process. And there were other issues that we discussed as well. And so the committee, we'll go back into committee and reconfigure how we should pose our legislative agenda and then bring it back to the full board for approval. And then just on one point, when we talked about this collaboration, we did get Bryant Saunders, I believe, from Senator Gillibrand's office, did in fact contact us about a grant being made available for schools. And so we talked about, one of our items for federal and state was whatever kind of grant opportunities that were available. And so I think there's $100 million that being issued on a national level. And so we may have an opportunity to be able to apply for that if the superintendent is willing to do that. And so it was a wonderful event, and we talked about the county's role in that. We didn't have a legislative agenda for the county, but there'll be some ensuing conversations around what that collaboration looks like. The next CIG committee meeting will be held on December 10th at 10 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner White and the ESA committee?
Yeah, the ESA committee met. It was a committee of the whole, so most of you were there. I think all of you were there. So you also have a written report dated today, November the 21st. So, and additionally, anybody who wasn't living under a rock saw the details of the superintendent's announcement, so I don't feel a need to go into any particular detail. Since you all were there, we have the written report, and thanks to Chip, there was significant publicity around that particular meeting / announcement. So we do, I'm sure I voiced the sentiment of the entire committee. We do look forward to additional details from the superintendent regarding this initiative. Certainly it's generated a lot of buzz, and that's a good thing for this district. I did want to talk about something that does relate to excellent student achievement. Yes, I am back to wearing sweatshirts, college sweatshirts, as a motivating tool. We hope that every parent in the city of Rochester is watching this show. And so those of you may recall, last year I began wearing t-shirts and sweatshirts instead of suits to symbolize the importance of getting in the college mindset. As Commissioner Evans, President Evans has indicated, I am, as you can see, I'm wearing the Aggies sweatshirt. There's a couple of Aggies fans out there. North Carolina A&T is a historically black college. Many of you may not know that, but the original name of the college was the Agricultural and Mechanical College for the Colored Race, right? Established in 1891. It is the largest publicly funded historically black college in the nation. They generate more, you know, we've had meetings with the audit committee a couple of years ago, and there was a big debate about the failure of auditing firms or accounting firms to have people of color who are accountants. Well, this is a good way. Oh, I get some theme music in the background too?
The Aggie music.
The Aggie music. Many of you may not know this, but the Aggies produce more minority accountants than any other institution in the country. They also produce more veterinarians and more landscape architects. And many of you probably know this. The Aggies produced the AT&T 4. Anybody know who they are?
Michael Jordan, not Michael Jordan.
No, 1960s. They are the folks that sat in on the Woolworths counter, right? Right. They also gave us none other than Jesse Jackson, right? Presidential contender, Operation Push, right-hand man or left-hand man, depending on your political perspective, to Dr. King. I mentioned the Aggies, and I did not go there, of course, but I have had several friends who've gone there, and more importantly, some of your still own students from the Rochester School District went there, I believe. Actually, when I had my surgery, beginning of, was it last year, this year, they brought back this sweatshirt for me. The Du jour, Jinga St. Louis brought this sweatshirt back from the college students when they went on their historically black college tour. Why do I mention all this? Because this is a college that you parents can get your kids to go to. Their deadline for admissions is February 15th, so you still got a little time. There are many schools, as you guys know this, you guys who have kids who are in college, many colleges have rolling admissions, but I must tell you that you all need to know this, that the college admission schedule really begins in your junior year, right? We all know this, that they look at your transcripts from your junior year. That's really important that parents focus on making sure the kids have their house in order by their junior year. Financial aid applications, this thing called FAFSA. How many parents out there know about FAFSA? I never knew what it stood for until I looked it up. Does anybody know what it really stands for?
Free application for federal student aid.
I never knew that. Free application for student aid. Nothing is free, though.
You must be rich, Commissioner White, because all of us heard of that.
No. I just knew it was called FAFSA. I didn't know what it stood for.
You must be a rich man.
It's only the form
I
that's
only
free,
wish.
nothing after that.
The moral of this whole story is the T-shirt, the little interesting facts, is to get our kids to focus in on college. And as Dr. Vargas says, you're not going to be going to college unless you graduate. And you're not going to graduate unless you go to school. Right? It's that simple. This isn't stuff for Einstein. This is basic stuff. How do you get yourself in class? How do you get yourself, this is what I'm going to say on DKX in the morning. How do you get yourself in class? You don't run no race. I'm speaking to the parents. I'm preaching to the choir here. You don't run no race without knowing where the finish line is, right? This is the finish line, right here, right here. This is where you want to be, right? So that's why I'm wearing the sweatshirts, because it is all connected. He talks about attendance, but you can't get here unless you're in class, right? So that's my report. Mr. President, I think we're meeting again, as we always do, and that's December the 9th at 6 o'clock.
Thank you. Commissioner Cruz and the Policy Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. We met on the committee met on November the 14th. I was not there, but I want to thank my colleagues who were there, took care of business in my absence. The committee looked at the proposed revision of the Parent and Family Engagement Policy. We're doing some work with this. We're working very closely with the Parents Advisory Council, who are providing us some information, some input, and we're hoping to make some significant changes to strengthen the monitoring and accountability. In addition to that, we're looking at an annual evaluation be conducted and an evaluation report provided to the board. And the revision will require that the parents be notified when the annual evaluation report is available in ways that it may be accessed. Requirement to conduct an internal audit of parent engagement activities and processes that will make the audit finding and corrective action plan available to parents. And then the third revision we're looking at is a requirement of the board to obtain input from parents prior to collective bargaining and negotiations. All these are, again, ideas we're taking a look at to strengthen our parent engagement policy. The policy proposal is still under review. Parent Advisory Council has asked for a little bit more time in terms of time frame for conducting the internal audits, parent engagement activities in the district, and the chair of the audit committee would like to ensure that the Auditor General has greater flexibility in determining the audit schedule. So we're, again, still working on that. I really want to thank the Parent Advisory Council who've been very, very helpful in taking a look at this, and I think it's, it's just a great way to develop policy. The committee has obviously its opinions, but it's always nice to be able to work with a group who's willing to sit down and provide additional input. And we're seeing it with parent engagement, we're seeing it with another values education policy, so it's just a great way to do policy, and in the long run, I think it's something that everybody not only buys into, but supports later on. And speaking of the values education policy, we're still continuing to do some work on that. We met with the superintendent. Mr. Superintendent, thank you for taking the time to do that. I think we're getting closer to looking at it. And again, we're looking at a revision of the values education policy from a number of years ago. Mr. Bill Benet has been very helpful in helping us sort of transition from the work that was done back in, was it the 80s, the 90s, to today. And we're looking at how do we now implement that so it has something much more than just a poster, but something that's integrated into the classroom, into the building. What are our educational policies? What do we as a district believe? And then the arts education policy, the committee members decided to develop a benchmark for arts education based on other local districts in Monroe County, and an estimation of costs involved in implementing the same level of arts in the city schools. Committee also decided to include integrated arts in this policy to support student engagement in all aspects of the curriculum. Just a reminder, on December the 5th, we have a policy committee of the whole. We're going to be looking at the legal aspects of student suspension, and we're going to continue discussion on suspension disparities. So please feel free to come to join us with that. Our next regular meeting is scheduled for December the 12th. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Cruz. Commissioner Campos and the Board Governance Committee.
We did not meet this month, but we'll be meeting next month in December. That concludes my report.
Commissioner Adams and Audit.
The Audit Committee was not scheduled for a meeting in November, did not meet in November. I just want to follow up on the Policy Committee report that both myself and the Auditor General are actively engaging the request for involvement and education and information from the Audit Committee and from the Auditor General regarding parent involvement policy, and we're happy to work with them to explain the risk assessment process and also to make sure that parent voice gets included in the risk assessment process the next cycle. And I just wanted to quickly also say that the Ad Hoc Committee on Common Core Implementation did meet, and I wanted to acknowledge and appreciate the participation by some of the academic directors and executive directors. They participated in a roundtable discussion, which was very valuable, and I've received some comments from members of the committee, which is composed of community educators, parents, and so on, that were very positive and really reflecting the fact that even though there is some contention around Common Core implementation and the New York State Department of Education engaged New York materials and so on, there was definitely an appreciation for the hard work that's being done by the academic directors, by the administrative people who are responsible for implementing Common Core, recognizing the tough work that it involves. And I just wanted to thank Katie Yarlett, Brenna Farrell, Stephanie Moore, Jeff Mickles, the academic directors and executive directors for taking time in the evening to participate and really help us in the community learn about what's going on in real time. And I also wanted to appreciate, not naming all of them, but the teachers, classroom teachers who participated in a similar parallel roundtable that same evening that really gave a lot of insight on the dedication of our teachers in really providing the best possible instruction. It was really, really good. And so going back to audit, the next audit committee meeting will be on December 3rd at 5:30.
Thank you. And just on the vein from the audit committee, the board had a study session to discuss student suspensions on December 5th, and we will be, and I know that the policy committee will be continuing those discussions on that important topic. Commissioner White, do you have a question? About
No. I was just going to give a compliment to Commissioner Adams. And I might have mentioned this before. You know, we often have these meetings, and there are usually very few people attend. A year or two ago, when we would have ESA meetings on hot topics, there'd be a lot of people there. But generally speaking, people don't come to our committee meetings. But I've been to 2 of the Common Core committee meetings, and they are almost standing room only. So this is obviously a hot button. And it is good that we as a board are taking advantage of people's interests. So thanks, Commissioner Adams, because if anybody knows anything about doing this job, it's tough to get people involved unless there's some major crisis. And she has really gotten people involved and interested and engaged.
Thank you. Let me, just my report is going to be 2 minutes or less for the sake of time, because it is 8 o'clock. We got resolutions to go through, and we also have a brief executive session afterwards, and Scandal comes on tonight at 10. I want to thank Commissioner Elliott for the Community and Intergovernmental Relations Committee legislative breakfast on a couple of Saturdays ago. It was a great representation. I think it was great to have representatives from the county there, and hopefully we'll move some constructive legislation in the state and federal level, particularly at the state this next coming cycle. I just want to remind board members that the business meeting for December is December 16th at 6 o'clock. It's December 16th at 6 o'clock. That gives us more time to enjoy the holidays and finish up last-minute Christmas shopping. With that, we'll move to resolutions. We have several resolutions, although the packet is not as thick as it usually is, but we'll start with human resource resolutions numbered 301 through 322. And I'll entertain a motion for 301 through 322.
So moved.
If I can find my packet. Oh, here we go. Yeah, the packet is so thin this month that I forgot how, I didn't even have it. 301 through 322. We do have
They're usually color-coded, Mr. President, in yellow.
Yeah, it used to be yellow. That's right, Commissioner Elliott. You were correct. Why isn't it yellow? Who's responsible for that? Get these packets back yellow. 301 is a resolution to grant tenure. So we'll take that in executive session. Yeah, so we'll do 302 through 322. It's been moved and seconded, moved and seconded. Discussion that are general in nature on 302 through 322. Hearing none. All those in favor of 302 through 322? Aye. Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you. Oh, Commissioner, I thought, okay. Commissioner Elliott, you got any no's?
Yeah, 308 and 315.
308 and 315 are no's for Commissioner Elliott. All the 308 and 315 are no's for Commissioner Elliott. We will now move on to resolution number 323 through 330. These are additional pay resolutions per contract. Moved by Commissioner White. Is there a second? Second. It's moved and seconded. General questions around 323 through 330, additional pay resolutions? Hearing none. All those in favor of 322 through 330, please say aye. 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 The ayes have it.
Come on now.
Oh. Commissioner Elliott? No, I was just testing you to make sure. I was just testing you to make sure you were still awake. All right. I didn't get you. 331. This is one of the shortest board packets we've ever had.
I don't know.
Well, no comment. 331 through 332 are
no comment.
educational facilities. These came through finance. Finance had a very light month this month. I'll entertain a motion for 331 through 332.
So moved.
It's It's been moved. Is there a second? Second, moved by Commissioner Elliott, seconded by Commissioner Powell. All those in favor, please say aye. 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 The ayes have it. Thank you. And resolutions 333 through 337 are other. I entertain a motion for 333 through 337. Moved by Commissioner White. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Cruz. Commissioner Elliott?
I'd like to have an amendment to be made for Resolution 337. If you go down to the last paragraph under the resolve, I'd like to remove that concurs with the recommendation of the administration. Then
Where is that?
where the resolve is.
Okay, yep.
That the Board of Education, but then to strike concurs with the recommendation of the administration and.
Okay. Any objections to striking out the words? It's more like a technical thing. Concurs with the recommendation of administration and?
Well, it's not necessarily technical because the administration is not making the recommendation.
Right.
This is the resolution that I have committed to bring in every month until we approve this.
Okay. So we're going to take resolution 337. Well, actually, we have a moving second, so we can discuss 333 to 337. So anything on 333 through 337?
Discussion on 337?
Yep, we're in that packet, yep.
Yeah. Commissioner Elliott, you're not gonna explain it? I mean, you've already explained why you take this position.
You mean of the amendment or just?
Just the resolution.
Oh, I explained it last month?
Okay,
Yeah. Do I need to explain it again?
No,
okay.
no, I was just trying to make sure I give you the courtesy. I just wanted to just put on the record, and I won't put it on the record each and every time you make this resolution, but that my vote in opposition to this particular resolution is based on the facts as I understand them respecting 690 St. Paul Street. And if you'll indulge me, Mr. President, for a minute, I just want to put this on the record. And then going forward, to the extent that Commissioner Elliott continues to bring this resolution, this will be preserved, right? This will be preserved for the record.
But just let me give Commissioner Elliott and Commissioner White both a point of order.
There's a motion
There's a motion to amend, so just let me get the motion to amend.
Oh, okay, fine. I thought you were just entertaining discussion on all this.
Yeah, I am, though.
Okay.
So on the motion to amend, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, seconded. Any other further discussion on the amendment, which is just striking concurs with the recommendation of the administration and?
Mr. President, request that we sever 337.
Okay, yes.
Well,
For ease of
Yes,
the casting
okay, all right,
votes.
yep.
We're going to discuss it here, though, right?
Yes, but just let me.
If we sever it, we can vote on the rest of the
On the rest of the
packet.
thing, but just let me get,
It's not going to be that long. I don't think we need to.
Well,
no, but just let me get the motion,
discussion,
just let me get the motion to amend. Is all those in favor? Aye. Okay, the ayes have it, thank you. And then, there was a request to sever 337, so we'll sever 337. And this let me go back to 333 to 336, and then I'm gonna go to Commissioner White after we vote on 333 through 336. All those in favor of 333 through 336, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it, thank you.
No.
Well, no, yes, Commissioner.
334.
334 is a no for Commissioner Elliott. Now, resolution number 337, we do have that has been moved and seconded. Discussion, Commissioner White.
Yeah, again, this is just so that the record is clear with respect to my vote, because I think Commissioner Elliott's proposal, I would not want Commissioner Elliott's proposal to go unresponded to, at least from my vantage point, because she raises some very serious allegations and very serious concerns, which I don't think anybody would dispute. But there are some facts that people might contend are at dispute. This fact is clear. This particular plot of land is about 4.7 acres of land as part of the state's brownfield cleanup program. So there's no dispute that there was some environmental concerns which drew the state's attention. I don't need to get into the detail because I don't even, quite frankly, have all the detail. I do know this, that the New York State's Department of Environmental Conservation has been on the ball here for quite some time. And again, the facts are available to anybody who wants to review them. And in fact, our public libraries, including Phyllis Wheatley, the Downtown Library Branch, and the Lincoln Branch, have information regarding the tests that have been conducted on this particular property over several years. I think it is fair to characterize those tests as indicating that the property is safe for individuals to use. And in accordance with that, the district and others have utilized this property. I would encourage people, if you have any remaining questions, to go to these particular databases and go to these particular sites. You can go to New York State's, Department of Health and Department of Environmental Conservation and look at the data respecting these particular properties. They are being monitored. There are these things that they call fact sheets that go back several years, and they describe the environmental conditions of these particular properties. And these fact sheets, again, I'm not the expert, seem to indicate that this property is safe for people to utilize. Again, Mr. President, my only goal here is not to give people specific description of what the science is here, because I'm not trained in that area. But I did want our citizens to know that we rely on New York State, the people who are experts, the people who do have degrees, the people who do know about environmental safety, and they have told us, and they have continued to tell us, that this property is safe. Again, that's not to take away from Commissioner Elliott's concerns, because she's been elected to represent the people to the best of her ability, and I have as well. And I do that, right or wrong, I do that by relying on what the state is telling us about this property. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Anything else on 337?
President Evans?
Yes, Commissioner Elliott and then Commissioner Adams.
Yeah, I'd like to just take us back to when this resolution was brought before us. And I fought vehemently for the board not to approve a 15-year contract. I begged the board, do a 5-year contract, and let's see whether or not we want to continue to engage with this company. I was concerned that we're giving someone $1 million, $15 million to have our students and staff to be in that building. It wasn't until after the fact that the contract, that the board had approved, that now all of a sudden, all of the information comes out about Brownfield. The staff people who presented it to us never brought this to our attention. But then once the deal was signed, then all of a sudden we hear about this Brownfield status. The question becomes, why didn't we know that before we signed this 15-year contract at $1 million a year? So that means we're giving somebody $15 million. And I'll tell you, I've heard some of his reputation out there, and it's not good. I won't get into any of that. But the fact that he has, that they have that building, there are windows that are broken out in that building. Winds can come by and glass can come down and hit members of that community, students, our staff, or anyone that does business in that community. He has not taken the opportunity to be a good citizen in that community and to ensure that that building is safe for the people who either live in that building, go to school in that building, or in that community, or do business in that community. And so I have a serious problem, the fact that we would engage with somebody like that company when they're not being a good citizen of this community, and particularly in the Northeast, where in fact you have most of your disproportionate social ills in that particular neighborhood. And so you all can vote no on it. I respect that decision, but I'm going to and then the fact that I get information that we're going to put another group of kids in there. And let me just say, I'm not only concerned about my children or the children in our district, but I'm a citizen of this community. I don't want anybody else's children, whether they're the district children or not, to be in that building. And so, we don't seem to have the kind of, in my view, the kind of civic responsibility that we should have, and I believe that this person is taking advantage of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Adams.
I'm in a little bit of a unique position, and I hope that the rest of the board members can appreciate this. During the time when this was discussed, when the issue of hazardous conditions, brownfield, and so on was raised, I was a member of the public, not a member of this board, but I was a very interested and close follower of what was going on. I was at many of the board meetings. While I'm certainly not an expert in the area of environmental health and regulation, I have a master's in public health, so I feel like I have a relatively, informed, although not expert, view on this. I want to be very clear that I feel confident that this is a safe environment and that this is a safe setting. However, in the position as a board member now, not having been privy to all of the reports, all of the discussions at that time, I feel, in the interest of my own due diligence, I would really want to review all of those reports, all of the information that my colleagues had available to them at that time historically, before I would be asked to make a vote, yes or no.
I don't believe we had any, to tell you the truth. I don't remember.
Well, there were, because as
yeah.
a member of the public,
We had to stay here,
it was reviewed and questions were asked.
Oh, I was talking about when we presented with
There were, because as a member of the audience here in this room, as a member of the public, there were presentations, there were reports referred to and so on. But I didn't have, the responsibility at that point in time to really read and question and analyze those. And because I agree with Commissioner White, the allegations or the concerns are very serious, and I would really want to review that before I voted yes or no. So I hope that President Evans, you might be willing to work with that in terms of, I don't know if there's a yes or no vote being requested this evening, but I would really like that benefit prior to voting yes or no.
There is a yes or no vote, but you can always table it. You can always table.
Well, she's gonna bring it up again next month. So
Well, she can't bring it up. What was tabled, it comes up anyway. But
well,
yeah. But I mean, or you can just vote yes or no. But she
if we vote no, can she bring this up again next?
Technically, on Robert's Rules of Order, the answer is no, because unless a person on the prevailing side brings it back up. Right.
So
I'm gonna bring it back up.
It'll be out of order, Commissioner, but you can't bring it back up. Well, you can change the words a little bit.
Bring it back up.
You can change the
But let me just, to Mary's point, let me just say.
But you can table it, Commissioner.
Yeah, but let me just say to Mary's point that because I think I misspoke, we got the information, Commissioner Adams, after we voted on it. That was when when I said we didn't have any information, we didn't have that information prior to the vote. So I just wanted to clarify that. It was after the fact.
But we did have the information about the brownfield status because DEC did a presentation for the community in this room.
Y'all have to show me that because I don't remember that.
Commissioner Elliott, you might want to consider tabling it yourself, because you're the one, if you table it, you can bring it back up.
Nope, I'm not tabling.
All right, that's fine. We'll move to a vote.
Bring it back.
We'll move to a vote. All those in favor of Resolution 337, we already moved it and seconded it. I severed it because we wanted to have further discussion on this.
Just change one word the next time.
That's fine. All those in favor of...
Are you a lawyer?
Yes, you should be. All those in favor of 337, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
No.
No? All right. No
I abstain.
Oh. You can't abstain. You got to vote yes or no. Unless you have a compelling interest.
I don't have adequate information.
So vote yes.
You can vote yes, you can vote no.
I don't have adequate information to cast a vote.
I don't think it'll make it, it'll be a
You can
deciding
record
vote.
it as disobedient, but I'm not voting.
Well, then it's voted yes. Unless you have an objection to your vote being yes.
I do have an objection to my vote being yes.
Then is your vote no?
It won't change the outcome, so.
It won't change the outcome,
Go
but
ahead and
I
vote
do
no.
not have adequate information.
Well, but wait a second. Technically, she can just say nothing. You cannot vote her yes if she's not saying yes.
Right, I'm saying
And she's
nothing.
not
I'm
saying
not
no,
voting.
so just don't record a vote for it.
Vote not recorded.
This is not recorded. I mean, you can't compel her to say yes or no. right? Parliamentarian, you can't force somebody to say yes or no.
Absent,
No, I get that. But if she doesn't, she can't tell her to say yes or no.
If you walk out of the room, you won't be able to cast a vote.
all right, Commissioner Adams isn't here, no vote. This is the first time, this is my first time.
I don't want it recorded as a no vote. I refuse to vote.
No, it's a no vote.
All right, look, listen, I don't have time to waste. All right, she's not here. Just leave it blank. I mean, this is ridiculous. Motion to go into executive session, please. May I have a motion to go into executive session, please? Thank you. Executive session.
Don't we have new business there? Did we want to? I wanted to say something.
Well, what about policies that are in front of us? Are these information only?
Yeah, we'll take those right after executive session. We're gonna go into executive session.
Does that mean we're coming back up here?
No, we can take them from the room.
All right.
About what? Okay, yeah. You got 30 seconds. I don't have patience. My patience are extremely thin.
You're gonna vote yes this time.
I don't have time. I don't have time for that.
Hang in there. No vote, not a no vote.
I'm having problems.